I've been collecting film scratches, burning, fogging, edge fogging, grain for probably nearly 25 years, right back from when I worked in London. I always would play with the telecine machines and collect things like leaders, different leaders, dust and dirt, where I would just run a telecine machine and keep running a loop till literally the film would fall apart in the gate. I've got lots of different fogging effects, edge sprockets, fogging around. That's all film, what I've shown you, but I've also got some digital stuff. Insert card. It is rough, but that's how it was then, you know. A lot of this was recorded off the TV. Some of it's been recorded with film cameras. Some of it has been recorded just by pulling syncs on an old VTR machine and recording the output of that to get all the different effects. So this is Lost Lock. A couple of ways that you can use within Resolve. If we go to this master timeline and imagine this to just be a commercial or say our music video, and we want to put the effect across the whole thing, what we can do is that's fogging 5 fades to black. Add as matte. So I'm just adding in some mattes. I've also added some others as well. These are the ones I've added, so we can look at some of those. Go to your colour page, and because you want it to happen across the whole timeline, you can do it in the track mode. But I've only got one clip here anyway, so I'm just going to do it in clip mode for this one. Make a layer, Option L. Then in there, right click, add matte fogging yellow. And you need to break the source for that and bring the source from here. So we get that fogging yellow colour. We'll go through the matte shape. We can see it already coming up there. Then when I hit play, we will get that. And this will loop. That's the advantage of this. So it's quite a short one. That looks quite obvious. But what we can do, we can also go back and grade it, so I can go in there and soften out some of those artifacts and some of that film grain there. So I can just go onto that node, go into the blur, soften that through, or I could obviously grade it because it is in there as well as a node. So I can do whatever I would normally do. Resize that effect by going into my resize here. So I could zoom that right up or make it smaller. Yeah. I could have more than one. So if I like that little soft bit coming in there, but I needed to make another one, you can have any number of these going on the same clip if you want. You just create more nodes and add more mats in. All right. The alternate way you can do it is if you want to be more specific about where you want to put your effects. And again, I'm going to say, well, people may say, well, it's not the right box to be doing it in, but sometimes it's really good just to put a generic effect across something, a low level of grain, or a particular fog or something on this sequence. If I make another video layer here, which I've done, and I just want it to go on the guys here, what I can do is, I'll show you one of these burn ones, which are quite fun. I had great fun making this. This more or less closed down the whole building where I was working. Fire alarms were going off. So I was burning film and projector, filming it with a Bolex. Smoke was everywhere. It was chaos in this post house I worked at in London. It was good fun all the same. Add that to here, so drag it down and pop it there. Then I've now got a V2 over a V1. If I right click and go to composite mode, and if I use the screen mode, I will get something like this. If I just run that, you will see the effect of that. That's both of them. So now I've got the one over everything, and I've got a particular one just happening on them. If I go to that shot, I can select it. It will run across the second one. I can then blur it as I did before, using the same tools, and just soften it through, give it a more real natural, subtle effect. Remember, some of these would have been bits of old 16mm, so they are a bit rough and grainy, and a bit, what's the word, very organic, I suppose. But what you can do, you can just come in here and just pick that up and just move it across, so the burn will start a little bit earlier, and now it will start through her shot as well. Again, in theory, you could then go and add more timelines, add more shots, start to put things like countdown leaders all the way through the top of that as well. Like that. So there's lots of things you can do utilising either your composite modes here, so your screens or your overlays, to create an effect. You can obviously move the picture under it as well and give it a little bit of movement. But if you just want to lay something on the top, you do that in your clip or your track mode. Obviously clip means this, track will do everything, as we explained before. But a new feature, but really useful. And again, it's a case of getting in there and trying some of these out. Also, one of the things I do sometimes do is just add a little bit of grain through something. That can work as using the high tone. So this is the medium one. This would have been a bit of 16mm grain just shot off a wall, grey wall. Again, add it as a matte, so you see the icon. Come into the track mode there. Track means everything, whole timeline, so it could be 300 cuts in your music video. Track means it will go across the whole music clip. Add a layer, and then within that layer, bring in a matte, and I want grain medium. Just delete that and route that into there, like that. Come up there and change my composite mode on that node, and just make that a multiply. And then when I just add a little bit of contrast, I'm just grading the grain now. It's way too obvious in there. It's not really giving me the grain effect. Right click on the layer mixer and go to overlay, and we can see there we have the little bit of grain that you can notice just in here on her face. I can obviously grade that though, so if I want that to be a bit more, I can do that there. I could even get in there and sharpen up that grain if I wanted to. Because it's in a node, I can do all the other things that I've done before. So I can do that, start to sharpen it, or just soften it. It's even got a bit of dust and dirt in there as well, because it was real. It was shot for about 30 seconds, just filmed off, and then processed as normal. So it is real grain. I use that a little bit, and that's a pretty cool effect for just grubbying up some of this new digital material we're starting to work with. Just play away and have fun, and remember, it's not just a Resolve thing. You can obviously look at these, and all of you will have individual ideas of where you could utilise these effects. All right, thanks for looking, and have fun.